Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Two Nerd Sportscast. I'm Lee,
And I'm Joel.
and let's jump right on into this. We do have two guests coming on today's episode. We got Alex from Out of Our Own End Zone. He mostly does audio podcasts through Anchor, which I believe he's on Spotify and a couple other places. Link to his Twitter down is going to be down below, and his information on how to contact him is on his Twitter. And then we also are going to have TTB Trust the Bank Ravens. He's a Ravens guy. He basically does everything Ravens. Also, Out of Our Own End Zone does a little bit of everything, but he is a Steelers fan. And then Trust the Bank Ravens, his Twitter will also be down below. And so you can check out his stuff because I believe he is on YouTube. I was going to say I believe he's on other stuff, but I think he's just on YouTube. But yeah, they're like I said, their links will be down below. Go check them out. They are awesome people. But let's get into the Bengals because that is going to be the one team we aren't going to be talking to either of them about. So let's just jump right on into it. For me, I don't where to start with the Bengals. Here, let me bring up our Truz or Susso meter. 1 second. Okay, there we go. But yeah, it was a pretty lackluster offseason considering that they had a lot of cap space. They signed two dudes that took up most of their cap space. Luzier and
Trey Hendrickson. Those were their
Hendrickson.
big money signings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it feels like they needed a lot more on the O-line, not on the defense. I mean, I guess when you get rid of a guy like Gino Atkins and Carl Lawson and those guys, I guess you kind of have to shore up the defense a little bit. But at the same time, that O-line looking real bad. Real bad. I don't like a lot of the moves that they did. Like I said, letting Lawson, Jackson, and then letting AJ Green go. I mean, yeah, they got Jamar Chase, but they could have gotten Penei Sewell and actually had an actual answer for their offensive line. Because I mean, just going down their draft, yeah, they got Jamar Chase. They got Jackson Carman, which is decent, I guess, but there was other dudes on the board that were probably better than him. Now again, probably, I mean, if he turns out to be a stud, I mean, great pick, but prospect wise, there was other dudes that were better.
Wyatt Davis.
Yeah. And then they got dudes like Joseph Osai, which I think was good in the third round. Yeah, and the rest of these guys, I was just kind of I mean, decent depth and decent prospects all around, like Deontay Smith. I mean, he's basically a switch tackle. He can play both sides, but still very raw. Still definitely needs to develop a little bit more. And basically all of their signings were just for depth. They didn't really keep a lot of their starters that were on the chopping block. They didn't really keep a lot of them. So, and then again, they still haven't answered their O lines. They have yet to answer that, and especially in the AFC North, with three phenomenal defenses facing them twice a year, both or each. I don't.
Rip Bengals.
I'm sorry.
Rip Bengals.
No, I don't see Joe Burrow coming out unscathed. Now, hopefully, he doesn't have another injury. I pray he doesn't have another injury like that. I do not want Joe Burrow to get injured. I'm just sus that the Bengals didn't do enough on the O-line that he will get injured. So
But
I have it on Omega Sus. I don't. I mean, it. And I want to start off with the Bengals because I want to end on some good notes because we'll be talking about some good stuff later on with the other guys. And by the way, we are recording on different days, so him and I might look a little different. Like I'm definitely having my Ravens jersey on tomorrow.
But for me, for the Bengals, I mean, they started off early in free agency, signing the big guy in Trey Hendrickson, which was the signal for Carl Lawson to leave. Handed Trey Hendrickson more money than what Carl Lawson got from the Jets, gave him $60 million. That's way too much money for a guy that is really inconsistent in Trey Hendrickson, at least to me, and fairly unproven. He came onto the scene last year, never really done much to that point, and you're just going to throw all the money in the world at him. That historically does not go well in free agency when you do that. So hated that signing. Then they went and they took Awuzie from the Cowboys to replace William Jackson III. I see him as about equal to William Jackson III. Not really a step down, not really a step up. Similar money. It's just preference, I guess. William Jackson III went over to Washington, so they had to do something. But they did manage to bring in Mike Hilton from the Steelers. I liked that signing. He should bring a new mentality to that defense. He's a tough dude. That ought to help. They did shore up the secondary to an extent, but then they let longtime Bengals like Gino Atkins and AJ Green go. That's hard to watch for Bengals fans. Those guys have been stalwarts of the Cincinnati organization for many, many years. I personally am a big fan of Gino Atkins. Absolutely love him.
He had a rough year last year, but that's an anomaly.
Yeah, no, he's an absolutely stellar player. It's not going to be easy to replace him, and frankly, they didn't replace him. So
no,
we'll see what happens with that. But then we get over to obviously the most sus part of the whole organization in the O-line. All they did really to address it in free agency was Riley Reef.
Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about that. Yeah.
That's what you do with your money. That's who you choose to sign. When some of these other guys are floating around, the Corey Lindsley and some of these guys, they didn't even do a real pursuit. You got to go after Joe Thuney. Go after these guys.
Riley Reef is a tackle. I mean, also Schwartz and Fisher were still on the table.
Yeah, and they could have up to the point where the Ravens signed Villanueva. They could have been in the market for Villanueva, and I'd have been like, that's a good signing. Good job, guys. They've seen enough of Villanueva over the past few years. They should know that he's a solid player. So I don't know what's going on in that scouting department. But then, so I didn't really like their free agency. But, and I was like, okay, so they can kill it in the draft. They're in prime position to select Penei Sewell. That'll fix things, right? No. They go pick Jamar Chase when they already have a decent wide receiver group, even minus AJ Green. And I'm just like, guys, you could get a wide receiver in the second round and then have a guy that's actually going to fix your offensive line. Even if Jackson Carman immediately comes out and is at his highest potential, he's not going to fix the O-line. They're still going to have massive issues. Joe Burrow is essentially doomed next season. I don't see any way that he doesn't get hurt again next year. He's probably looking at, if he manages to play the whole season, in the neighborhood of the 50 sack pace. It's not going to go well for him.
No, yeah, and I'm sorry. I did just want to say real quick that I do understand the Jamar Chase pick, but they had to knock it out of the park with an O-lineman in the second round. They had to be the ones moving up to get Tevin Jenkins.
They didn't.
Or they didn't need to move up. They could have just gotten Tevin Jenkins. They actually moved back, right?
Yeah.
Who did they move back
I believe
with?
that's right.
New England.
I think so.
They.
Why were you guys not the one to snap up Tevin Jenkins' fall? You guys could have even been moving up with your draft capital into the end of the first round, and I wouldn't have hated it. It didn't make a whole lot of sense what they decided to do. And then I did like their third-round pick. I think it was a big steal with Joseph Asai.
Yes.
He was a borderline first-round talent on many people's boards, and he's pretty solid. Snapping him up should help ease the exit of Carl Lawson because, frankly, I don't think Trey Hendrickson's going to cut it. So that should help shore up the defense some. And then rest of the draft, pretty mediocre, except for in the 5th round, they did manage to get Deontay Smith. I am fairly high on Deontay Smith. I think he'll be a good swing tackle, but that's kind of his cap on his first season and for the first couple seasons. He's very developmental, but he could be a starting tackle down the line.
Oh, yeah.
But right now, so
and they need it right now.
Yeah, they need it now before Joe Burrow's career is over. By the time he develops, Joe Burrow might be dead for all we know. So
he's not going to be dead, but like he might.
Okay.
He might be on his way out just because of injuries.
Or in a wheelchair.
Of injuries, not because of his play.
Yeah, no, he's a great player. It's just eventually at some point he's not going to be able to move outside the pocket anymore because his legs don't work. Maybe he's already going to go the route of RG3. We don't know.
Oh man, that just makes me sad to think about.
It does. To me right now, the best that we can hope for out of Joe Burrow is to have an Andrew Luck-like career where it's just shortened, because it's going to be so brutal here at the beginning with the injuries and the O-line play that by the time he's 30, he's going to be limping around. So they already are headed towards wasting him. But the grade I'm going to have to slap on it is going to be an Omega Sus as well.
Yeah.
They are a rebuilding organization, didn't mind letting the veterans go. You got to do it, but they didn't really better their team and all. In fact, in my opinion, they got worse this offseason, which is not something you want to do after you've already picked your franchise QB. It's supposed to be on the uphill climb from the rebuild. You're not supposed to be going downhill anymore.
No, 100%. And like, and just like you said, the draft just wasn't good enough. It really just wasn't good enough, especially when, well, again, we'll talk about the other three with the other two guys, but especially when the other three teams two of them had much better, and the Steelers did have a better draft than the Bengals, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're not as worse of a team. They didn't need to hit it out of the park to remain competitive. So the Bengals will be very solidly in the bottom of this division next year, and it's really not even going to be close. Bengals won't even come close to sniffing the playoffs next year, even if they do the absolute best they can.
That's exactly how it was in 2020. They were the only team with a losing record in the AFC North.
It'll probably be the same way.
Yeah.
Maybe the Steelers have a losing record, but the Ravens and the Browns sure as heck won't unless there's an injury to their QBs.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah. So that is gonna be our talk on the Bengals. But let's shoot on over to the other guys. We're gonna be talking some Steelers and Browns with our out of our own end zone, and we're gonna be talking some Ravens with Truz the Bank. So stay tuned. Hey, what's up, guys? So we're actually recording on 3 different days this week because our recording with Alex unfortunately got messed up. So you're gonna see us in 3 different clothes. Yay! But give a big round of applause for Alex. He is here with us right now.
Yeah, I'm okay with us doing this again because I thought of more stuff I wanted to talk about.
Awesome. Yeah, no. Hey, yeah, it definitely worked out in multiple ways. But yeah. So let's get right on into it. I want to start off with Alex, as we are going to be starting off with the Steelers. What are your general thoughts on this offseason?
Thought they did about all they could do with like the limited cap space. Stuff I didn't mention in our original conversation was like they had to choose between Sutton and Hilton, but it was like at least they got Cam Sutton, but they still lose Hilton. But he's a pretty good corner. And then obviously they picked up Haskins a long time ago in the winter. They extended Rudolph, and then they had to let Villanueva go to the Ravens, which wasn't the most ideal, but it was what it was. And then they restructured Roethlisberger's contract, which that worked out pretty well because take it or leave it, it's his last year, no matter what happens.
No, it better be his last year. It's just like he's
on his last leg for sure. So, them bringing in multiple different options, get to extend Rudolph and Haskins having bases covered for now to see, and for a borderline inevitability that he does go down for some period of time this season. At least in theory, they'll have a viable option at backup. So that was for the best, bringing in Haskins. But for the O-line, how are you feeling about the O-line in general, losing Marquise Pouncey to retirement in addition to Villanueva leaving?
I feel all right about the line. I don't think it's too bad. It's probably like right in the middle. I don't know. Not being a line expert, but I feel pretty good about it. We'll have to see how they actually play. But just knowing some of the players, like I think Okorafor is pretty good. And then they're getting Banner back because he tore his ACL in week 1. And then Dotson people were saying that Dotson was a better run blocker than Filer, and they always put Filer before him. So we'll see how that works out. And then they did draft this center from Illinois. And then they drafted another guard from Texas A&M. So,
Yeah,
okay
the Texas A&M dude, I think that was, wait, where was it? Oh, yeah, Dan Moore Jr., and then you got Kendrick Green.
Yeah.
Kendrick Green should be a good option from the 3rd round. The only issue is they didn't address it until the 3rd, and they chose to go other ways in the 1st and the 2nd. How are you feeling about the picks of Najee Harris and Pat Freiermuth?
Like I said, the original one was I like Najee a lot. I heard a lot of like non-Steelers fans say that they like Najee a lot, so I tended to agree with them. And then I heard good things about Pat Freiermuth. Like the Steelers had him as their 30th best player, and then they got him in the 2nd round. It was just surprising what happened, or just like when it happened, just because I thought they would go linemen earlier than they did. I don't know if that's necessarily a terrible thing, but it was just like surprising.
I mean, they did get 2 good dudes. I mean, you can't knock on Najee Harris or Pat Freiermuth. I mean, I personally think they should have gone something different, but I mean, hey, you do have to trust your big board. And yeah, if Pat was 30th on your big board and he's still there at the end of the 2nd,
you got to take him.
Yeah, because he is also a decent blocking tight end. Like he does have that in him.
Yeah.
I just think that the Steelers did need a lot more help in the O line, but hopefully Kendrick Green can come and ball out for you guys. Maybe Moore gets a rotational job. I don't know if he's necessarily going to get a starting job, but we'll see about that. Because you do have 2 stellar tackles, and I think he was a tackle from Texas A&M.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could definitely move him around. Hopefully, use him as like a nice depth dude. So yeah, I don't think your O-line is terrible, but like.
Also, they were able to get B.J. Finney as a rotational guard back from the Bengals. So
that is fair.
That
is fair.
Yeah. They had him before. I think it was before the Ravens game where they sat everyone. No, they didn't sit everyone, but everyone was injured in 2019.
Oh,
the Ravens are, but they still lost. They were like 15-0 when Finney filled in on center. So like I don't know, he's not bad to have around.
No. He's good. He's definitely good. It's definitely good depth at least.
And how do you feel about letting James Conner leave?
That's something we talk about. James Conner is a pretty good back. Like the problem was he always got injured, so it was just like, well, there's no point in keeping him if he's like never gonna play.
Yeah.
And partially it was the Steelers' fault some of the times because he was getting carries against the Dolphins with like 2 minutes left in the game. I was like, oh, the game's over, so like, why is he even in?
Yeah.
But I like Najee, like I said, like I was like I'm really high on Najee, but I could have done with them just taking another running back and having it be a like it was like a a group effort at running back, I guess.
Oh yeah,
but,
like having
running back by
guy.
committee.
Yeah.
No, committee approach is definitely the way that it's going modern times, which is why I was a little bit sus of the Najee Harris pick. Investing so much into just running back when most teams do it with 3 running backs, it seems against the grain to an extent. So in theory, it might work out. You got the Derrick Henrys, the Dalvin Cooks that can carry the load by themselves, but will Najee Harris enter that conversation? No one knows for sure.
No, yeah, we haven't seen a single snap yet.
Yeah. But also, you guys managed to bring back Juju. Is good thing, bad thing? How are you feeling about his locker room presence?
I could have taken it or leaving it because Juju's a really good player. He'll be good wherever he goes. But the Steelers have a lot of receivers, and they're always good at restocking the receiver position. So, and he's only on a 1-year deal. So, like, the same thing happens next year and it goes the other way. I wouldn't be, like, too disappointed, but I'm, like, glad to have him on the team. And his locker room, he's, like, a cool guy. He was obviously getting to be a distraction, because, like, it's cool when you're winning, but then when you're losing, it's like, well, you kind of got to focus now. But at this point, him and Claypool, they kind of got to still do the TikToks because it's like, you can't, like, abandon, like, what you were doing. You're just like, you got to do it when you're winning and when you're losing. So then when you're winning, you're like, well, we were still doing it. we still stuck to ourselves and came back,
Well, no, I mean that's entirely fair. I think you could maybe not do the TikTok of dancing on the logo, period, unless if it's your own logo.
Do something else.
I just think that's a little much. But I do get that they do, like, since they already started doing it, like, I get that they have to continue doing the TikTok because you're not just going to stop.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like, I get that, and I don't think he's going to be that much of a cancer. I do think that Juju, I mean, from some of the interviews that I saw, it does look like he understands that he needs to mature a little bit. Not that he isn't mature, but needs to mature even more to really get into, like, that number 1 wide receiver role. And it looks like that is definitely something he's trying to do. So that is definitely good stuff, and it does seem like he wants to stay in Pittsburgh. I mean, this 1-year deal could also just be because he wants to make money, but he understands that the cap is going down, so he wants to make his money the year after.
Yeah, we'll see. Because also Claypool could be the number 1.
It might be wise for the Steelers to let him go next season and let Claypool really emerge and see what you got there.
Oh, yeah.
And
no. I wasn't
save
saying
the money.
100% they're going to re-sign him. I'm just saying it could be that.
Yeah. I wouldn't hate it either way.
Yeah.
So.
That's fair. And then you already talked about losing Mike Hilton. I mean, bringing in what's the Kim?
Yeah, we got Sutton. We re-signed Sutton, but then Hilton went to the Bengals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think Hayden is y'all's other guy on the other side, right?
Yeah, and then we have Justin Lane's the third guy from Michigan State. He's been there for like 3 years.
Okay.
He just got his charges dropped, which is good. But he hasn't played that much for the Steelers. But apparently the coaching staff's high on them. And then they did draft 2 corners later in this draft, and then they signed some in undrafted free agents. So I think Hayden can still be pretty good, and Sutton is good. And then it's kind of a wait and see on the other ones.
Yeah, like you got some depth from the undrafted and from a couple from the draft.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's super solid. That's definitely what a winning mentality team does, is get some depth through those later rounds and undrafted free agency. Like, that's how you do it, because you never know when you're going to find the diamond in the rough in undrafted free agency. I mean, just like how, like, the Ravens got Justin Tucker for pennies. So yeah, like 100%, you got to do that. You got to get depth there.
Yeah. But thing that I liked from the Steelers offseason, because I overall was not a huge fan of it in general, But I liked them stealing Quincy Roche in the sixth round. I think he's going to be excellent for them opposite T.J. Watt. I think he could even start some games next year. I think that's how ready he is.
Yeah, I heard people like a lot of the analysts were high on that pick. Also, they're getting Devin Bush back from injury.
That is also fair. Bush being back and then maybe easing Roche into the role just a little bit here and there would definitely be probably very good for his development.
Also, speaking of undrafted, we got Robert Spillane coming into his own, filling in, and then they're gonna probably see more projections from Highsmith, their other, because he was a rookie last year. He probably wouldn't even have played that much, but Dupree and Bush both got injured, so like he's kind of their next guy in the rotation.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So overall, what are you feeling on the Steelers offseason? Like, where would you do it on our little meter thing?
Like I said originally, I went with the shrug just because they couldn't really do that much, but they did not bad with what they could do. So
no, yeah, I was just making sure that nothing changed from that. I mean, nothing changed for me either, and I don't know if anything changed for Joel, but I doubt it. But I am also doing the shrug emoji again. Again, like you said, they didn't have enough cap to really do too much, and like with the things that they did do weren't all terrible. Like some were good things and some were not so good things, but they were kind of, because of the situation of not having the cap that they had to let some people go. Um, the draft, I mean, I'm kind of 50-50 with it. It's like, yeah, should they have gone O-line sooner, in my opinion? Yes, but they also got two stellar dudes with their two picks. Like, I can't necessarily knock that too much. I still would have wanted them for the Steelers because I mean I am a Ravens fan, but I like having a tough division. So I was actually hoping, and I had mocked actually. I thought AVT was going to fall to you guys at 24, and that's who I thought y'all were going to grab, and I was going to be a little mad because that would definitely really help y'all's O line, but. I am going with the shrug just because we're just gonna have to wait and see how these people do.
That's fair. No, I'm still going to have to slap a sus on it. As everyone is starting to learn, I'm a big O-line guy.
Yeah.
And when you don't help your O-line, it's hard for me to think that you did very good. Because to me, winning is done in the trenches. More than anything else on the field, it's done in the trenches. I'm an old school believer. So I am a fan of the running game, but also not a fan of picking a running back in the first round. That's always killer. It's great usually for the first season or two, and then they start having injuries, and then by the end of their rookie contract, they're gone. So would you rather have an offensive lineman that's going to play for you for a decade or a running back that's going to be cool and sell a bunch of jerseys for 2 or 3 seasons and then be gone? That's what it comes down to for me, and it feels like the Steelers are putting a lot into the right now, which is cool, which makes it's consistent with their approach with bringing back Roethlisberger. I just don't think that's what they should be doing. Be bad for a season, reload, get a new QB, figure out what you have in Haskins. I don't think they should have brought back Roethlisberger. I think they should have let him go and move forward as a team. Reload the whole cap, just reset, and then 2 seasons down the road, you're right back to where you were. And right now, it feels like they're just kind of delaying the inevitable, keeping the status quo of being slightly above that truly upper echelon of contender status.
I was fine with them bringing back Roethlisberger because I still think he can be a serviceable quarterback. But it's not like I don't know if they'll really draft a quarterback. Obviously, it just depends where they are in the order, how good they are, and then what prospects emerge. But I guess it's kind of true that it'll unless they draft someone which is unknown, it'll still be the same 2 quarterbacks, Rudolph and Haskins, that it would have been this year competing for the job. So
yeah.
It just seems
feel like putting it back by a year. But again, I mean, I have enough faith in the coaching staff of the Steelers and their front office that they're at least making good moves overall. even though it may
they'll remain competitive.
Yeah.
They did enough to stay competitive. I just don't know about because ultimately the goal needs to be the Super Bowl, and I feel like what they have is not that. So if it's not that, you reset. It just feels like you're just delaying.
No.
So that's where the issue comes in for me. Yeah. And Dallas has been doing that for a long time, staying right there. So
if anyone knows about it, it's Joel.
Yeah, they just stay right short of that top contender status, and I'm just like, guys, do something, please. So I feel bad for the Steelers in a way that they're going to have to continue to live that way because they've been there for a long time now. Going back to when Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell were there, they were right underneath just being like the best team.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it's really hard to win the Super Bowl, as I've been learning. But it's like the Steelers missed it by they missed their opening by 2 years because they had Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, but they didn't have a good defense. And then they have a good defense, but they don't have Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown.
Yeah, so. No, it was that is rough. But let's move on to the Cleveland Browns because you said you live in Ohio, so you are also pretty familiar with the ins and outs of what's going on up there. So what do you think of the Browns offseason so far?
I liked it because we were talking about John Johnson last time.
Yeah, John Johnson.
And they drafted defense, and they needed defense. That was their main weak point, and they've been addressing it. And also, just some injuries for the defense was on and off that they won't have this year. And we didn't mention that Greedy will be actually theoretically playing this year. So.
Yeah. And then also they got Clowney, which I mean.
Yeah, they got Clowney.
Which I think he's a decent second guy. He's probably the best second dude. Does that make any sense?
He's the beta edge rusher. Is what he is. He's the penultimate beta edge rusher. He routinely is on whatever team he's on. As long as he's the second edge rusher, he's the best second edge rusher on any team in the league. And so bringing him in to be opposite one of the best edge rushers, if not the best, of Myles Garrett is an excellent move. And replacing an underperformer, you take out one contract and plug Jadeveon Clowney's in by replacing Sheldon Richardson. You really can't do it any better than that. And then all of a sudden you have a little bit of a hole at DT. What do? They bring in Malik Jackson and Tommy Togai in the draft too, kind of rotate them to Malik Jackson will train him up. And then, when Malik Jackson eventually retires because he's pretty old, Tommy Togai plugs right in. And that wasn't even their best pick of the draft to me, which was JOK. Did they really need linebacker that much? No. But JOK elevates that defense to just the next level. They have the potential to have a top 5 defense next year. And their offense, at least in the rushing game, is top 5. And overall, with Kevin Stefanski's leadership, they can be a top 10 tier, top 10 offense potential. So, top 10 offense, top 5 defense, what's that? That's a Super Bowl contender every time.
Yeah.
So you can't build it any better.
Basically, it just comes down to on offense, just what Baker can do, because they set it up for him where they set him in a good offense. So we'll just see if he can continue his success from last year, or does he revert back to 2 years ago? But I mean. They got better play calling now, so that's the thing.
Yeah, no, the coaching staff in general is just better.
This is the first time he'll have a coach for 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still the biggest question.
Yeah, I mean, so Baker is probably a decent question on there. I mean, the line is good. I don't think it's stellar. And then. You've got some really good playmakers in the wide receiver room, but also how much depth do they have? I mean, I like a good bit of them, but Anthony Schwartz, I think they just drafted, so we're gonna have to see. Right? Yeah, they drafted him in the 3rd round. I mean, he could be really good, but we're just gonna have to see with that.
Yeah, because Odell is theoretically the best receiver, and then Jarvis is always like the best second receiver on any team he's on. But then past that, it's like Peoples-Jones wasn't so bad for his rookie year, and then they did just draft another rookie receiver. So we'll see about the receiver depth for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Rashard Higgins is the one
Higgins
that's left on. He's a pretty good slot option for sure.
Higgins is pretty good.
Oh,
too.
no. I like Higgins. I was saying that they have a good, front three. I was just questioning the depth.
Yeah, their depth is a bit of a question, but they kind of did address it. Though,
yeah.
So.
And one guy that I forgot to mention in the last one, I just completely forgot, is Ryan Switzer. Ryan Switzer, Dallas drafted him several years ago, and he actually played for Pittsburgh for a little while. I love Ryan Switzer. I think he has potential to be a top. The Cowboys drafted him in theory to replace Cole Beasley, and it just timing didn't work out, and they ended up trading him away. So, Ryan Switzer, bottom of the roster guy, but they have some guys on that roster like him and Peoples-Jones that can elevate their game, and all of a sudden, now we have a good slot option. And there's a lot of potential on the team. Yeah.
I liked Switzer for the first year, and then he got injured and didn't do anything the second year, and then Pittsburgh got Raymond McLeod to replace him. So
yeah,
Raymond McLeod's pretty good.
Yeah, Ryan Switzer's also had some personal issues.
Yeah.
His kid was in the hospital for a long time, so he's had some distractions. But his kid's out now, luckily, and so hopefully he can refocus.
Last year he had COVID one of the weeks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he's just had a rough go of things.
Yeah.
But he has a high ceiling, high ceiling. Yeah. If nothing else, as a returner, he's an excellent returner. But I'm of the opposite opinion. I think their O-line is one of the best in the league. With Patino and Jedrick Willis, I think Jedrick Wills should continue to progress. Also, J.C. Treader, Wyatt Teller, and Jack Conklin. That's a great top five. Depth is a little sketchy, though they did select James Hudson, who should be an excellent swing tackle, can play either side, and he's got a high ceiling too, but very developmental. So their O-line should also take another step forward now that they've had a full year to mesh, because Wills was a first-round pick last year, and they brought in Jack Conklin in free agency. So now they've all gelled for a year. They get an actual offseason together under the same coaching staff. It's only going to get better. Because that's what I tend to see with offensive lines, is that when they're able to play together for a long period of time, they get better and better and better, and they all elevate their game universally. So when you start changing pieces, you could have three superstars on the offensive line, but if you're changing out the other two pieces all year long, your offensive line is not going to be good. If all five of them can play together for most of the year, they're going to have an excellent offensive line.
No, yeah, that's entirely fair. But I guess I'm also saying that because, they might be stellar dudes, but you also have to look at how long the coaching has been in place as well. And that I actually think that the coaching, while I'm not sus of Kevin Stefanski and the coaching staff, what I am sus of is that it normally takes longer than 2 years to fully turn around a franchise.
The franchise in general, yeah.
So
that's true.
That's why, for me, it's I want to pump the brakes and see how they get developed.
And we'll see, also how teams game plan against this coaching staff now. So.
Yeah.
But the sky is the limit for the Browns. They have some of the truly highest upsides of any team in the league right now.
Oh, yeah. No, the future is very, very, very bright for the Browns. I mean, I do personally see the Browns and the Ravens slugging it out for the top. And maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they get their stuff together, are slugging out for number 2, whoever doesn't win the Ravens-Browns. Maybe it's all three of them going to the playoffs again.
That very well could be a likely scenario. You're talking about, all three teams have the potential to be in that 12-5, 13-4 upper spot.
Yeah.
So, they could all finish with the same record and then just come down to tiebreakers. At the very least, the Steelers at least are going to put up a fight to the Browns and the Ravens and aren't going to just get swept easily.
No.
So they probably will manage to split games for the most part. So That's pretty solid. But for the Browns offseason in general, I'm going to have to put an alpha truz on it. I really do think they had one of the best off seasons of any team. I'm very, very high on what the Browns did this offseason. Am I saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl and I'm joining that? No, I am not saying that. I'm saying I expect them to be one of the 4 best teams in the AFC, in that divisional round. And then from there, it's anybody's game. So I expect them to have a legitimate shot at it.
What about for you, Alex?
I got a trust on that.
Yeah.
I like that they did a lot with their defense, and I just like to wait and see what happens. So
No, I'm very much in that boat too. I try to not get too caught up in the hype with things, even with my own team. I try not to get caught up in hype because I am really big on trying to stay realistic and seeing things out. So for me, it is a trust as well, specifically because again, it takes longer than 2 years normally to fully turn around a franchise. I think they're going to be very competitive next year. I'm not saying that, but on top of that, Alex brought up a good point as well about also seeing how they now anti game plan, like how they go against other people's game plan against them. See how they could adapt and do all of that because we've seen coaching staffs have those 1 year wonder kind of things.
No, that's very true.
So,
and with a full offseason to prepare for them, they could come out next year and be a bunch of nothing.
Yeah, if they don't already start thinking about game plans against them, like against themselves.
Yeah.
But hopefully that doesn't happen. I have faith in Kevin Stefanski. That's why it's still in trust. Like I'm just saying why I'm not alpha trust. I'm just saying why I'm not all the way there, because there's a little bit of wiggle. But yeah, that's gonna be our thoughts on the Cleveland Browns. Any closing thoughts from anybody's?
I did want to say one move I forgot to bring up for the Browns that I liked was them bringing in the Project Takk McKinley. He was a first rounder for the Falcons a couple years ago, and it kind of fireballed out of there. But Takk McKinley also has an extremely high ceiling and can be a number 1 edge rusher as well. Having a year where he doesn't actually have to be the guy behind Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney to be the 3rd edge rusher, next year he could step out there and actually be the guy immediately, and they don't even have to address it in the draft. So those kind of moves are the ones that good contenders make. Take other teams' cast-off projects that didn't get finished, finish molding them, and then put them on the field and see what you got. And he's no risk for them at all. Worst case scenario, they cast him back off to the side and no hurt because he doesn't have to be a main contributor this year. So I loved that move, and that's just one final thing I had to say.
No, that's a solid point. Anything, Alex?
Yeah.
I will say they shouldn't have Cody Parkey as their kicker this year because he missed too many extra points.
That's fair.
I've seen some videos of oh man, what's his name? Adonis.
Oh yeah, chiseled
Adonis. Yeah, and he's all like Corey Parkey. And I'm just
no. They need to figure out the kicking situation.
I love Adonis. He's so funny.
I saw like the one meme where it was like what we see, and it's just a normal goalpost, and it was like what Cody Parkey sees, and it's just the whole goalpost filled with uprights. It's all the way filled in with uprights.
Oh my god!
Not too far off.
I mean. We'll have to see on their kicking situation. That is definitely another thing that might be the most sus thing of the Browns. Which honestly isn't that bad of a thing. If the kicking is your most sus thing, it's not too shabby. But
until it starts losing you close games.
Well, yeah,
until it starts losing you close games.
But I mean, yeah, they could get something in the future that will replace Cody Parkey. But
kickers show up out of nowhere every day.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just sign some random dude.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, next star. That's how kickers are.
No, it is.
Pretty much.
But that is going to be all for with Alex. Thank you so much for coming on, my man. Did you want to say any special thing that you're going to be planning for the future on your show, Out of Our Own End Zone?
Yeah. So this current episode was our last episode was with you guys, and it was covering the Ravens. That was the first episode of our new series. We're just gonna do no particular order, an NFL team a week, just going over their off season, last season, and draft and current schedule. And then also probably tomorrow I'm gonna post a NBA playoffs discussion. In the future, we're probably going to do an NBA draft and MLB All-Star Game discussion on my podcast. So I guess check it out.
Yeah, you try to talk about each of the sports, right?
Yeah. Eventually, I'm just probably going to make it more football, but we're doing, and then still talk about some of the other sports too. So it's what, like, over the summer, it's kind of going to transition to that. But
no, no. I mean, definitely. I mean, when there's a lull of an off season, it's definitely easy to talk about other sports for a little bit, especially since like basketball, playoffs kind of line up with football off season and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is going to be it from us. Alex, Out of Our Own End Zone's Twitter info is going to be in the description. You can find all his links on there. Go check him out. It was a great chat with him when we were talking about the Ravens, and a great chat again today. Thank you very much, Alex.
Yes. Can I throw in that Robert Spillane's pick six on Lamar Jackson was my second favorite play last year?
No.
Reality can be whatever I want.
Hey, what's up, guys? We are with our second guest appearance. We got Trust the Bank with us today. Give him a round of applause. Another Ravens fan. Yeah.
I'm outnumbered now.
Yep. um, but yeah. So tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, my name's Makana. I'm one half of the Trust the Bank podcast, but I also do the individual videos for TTB Ravens Media on YouTube, and I run the TTB_Ravens Twitter channel, and I help out running the Undrafted Sports TikTok, which started up a week ago. So yeah, that's what I do. Obviously, big time Baltimore Ravens fan.
Yeah, right on. Happy to have you, my man. And we are going to be talking some Ravens football today. It's the whole reason why we brought you on. So let's just kick things off. How do you feel about this offseason?
I feel great. I think I don't see really a negative that's happened so far in the offseason, so I couldn't be maybe I could be happier. I couldn't think of a reason as to why I'd be happier. Maybe if we had like Justin Houston or something like that, but I'm very, very, very happy with this offseason so far. I'm very pleased with Eric DaCosta, as always.
No, yeah, EDC has been knocking it out of the park through the last couple of years. He's, I think a lot of people were sus of what he was doing, but like at the same time, like you have to give drafts and off seasons. You have to give it like a year or two to actually develop. Really, 3 years. Yeah, I was supposed to say really 3 years to truly grade it. But like you can kind of guess how good it's going to be in about 2 years. But yeah, no, I've loved what EDC has done, and me personally, I'm even not like, would I be against getting Houston? Obviously not, but our front seven is pretty old already, so like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like he's definitely better than Purnell, but like if they think that they've got a young dude, in the waiting that can just, possibly start some games this season, why even get another guy? Why not get in more depth at the O line or just be happy with what we got, But let's talk about what we got. So first off, one of the biggest, the first real free agent thing that happened, other than us letting Judon and Ngakwe go, was us getting Sammy Watkins. How did you feel about that Sammy Watkins deal at first?
I mean, for me, I think it's a truz right there, just because I felt like, for me, I was actually on the train of don't even sign a wide receiver. However, I really liked the price that we were able to get him that, which makes it feel valuable to me. Because why I didn't want it was I wanted us to draft Rashad Bateman. That was like my whole goal. That was the whole thing. Don't sign a wide receiver so then we can draft Rashad Bateman. We don't have to draft an edge rusher. That was the whole thing. We still got Sammy, but on a 1-year deal, I'm happy with it. I'm happy that we didn't, pay the $10 million to T.Y. Hilton or the 12 or whatever we offered Juju, or the whatever Kenny Golladay got with $18, $19 million.
Got a ridiculous deal. No. I don't want that. I don't want that.
Yeah, give me the $5 million guaranteed 1-year deal for Sammy Watkins over that any day.
I mean, and he gets the team back up with Keith Williams. I mean, I think that could be dangerous. I really do. Talking about that's actually a pretty big offseason change as well, is getting Keith Williams and T. Martin, and Texans got David Culley. Like, I think you're breaking up.
Froze up a little bit.
Okay, yeah, no, you're back.
All right,
sweet. Well, yeah, we'll just continue on from there.
Yeah, I mean, getting them is going to be a major help for us, because David Culley was terrible. I don't know how he got a promotion. It's maybe the most ridiculous promotion I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen somebody do worse at a job and get rewarded more than what David Culley got out of Houston. Even though Houston decided to then screw him over, and now they're losing their quarterback, their edge rusher, like their entire franchise. But, all went downhill when they decided to bring in probably the worst pass games coordinator in the NFL.
Well, I mean, it truly started in 2019 when they brought in Jack Easterby, but I'm not getting into that right now. But yeah, no, I am super happy with T. Martin and Keith Williams. I think they are going to elevate our passing game immensely. They are fresh, young minds. I mean, I know they're not young, but for coaches, they are young. And so I do feel like they're going to revitalize that wide receiver or the passing game in general, and coaching up these wide receivers, because Keith Williams, I mean, not only did he coach up Sammy Watkins, he also coached up Tyreek Hill, and then T. Martin coached up Juju Smith-Schuster and and Randall Cobb from college, and a couple other big dudes from college. Like, they know how to make good wide receiver talent.
Yeah, and we saw it right away. I mean, in the rookie mini camp, we saw the videos of them running up and down the field. I can't remember who they were running with, but like, they were energetic, they were excited. I just imagine David Culley in those camps was sitting in a chair with a root beer, and just kind of watching them try and run those quick routes, and like, yep, you got this, like a 7th grade PE teacher.
you got.
Honestly, I don't really know what he did. I didn't see any videos, but that's what I feel like happened with David Culley, and I like the improvement. I'm a big fan of the improvement to
I'm also
T
a
and
big
Keith.
fan. Definitely. But did you have something you wanted to say, Joel?
I mean, I love that they brought in the new passing game coordinators. It's definitely an upgrade. But for me, the big stuff really happened on defense. Bringing in Owe, I really like Owe. To replace Judon, I didn't like Judon that much, frankly. I didn't think he was that great. You let him walk, you're going to get that free 3rd-round compensatory pick for doing nothing, and then replace him with a guy with a higher ceiling. You can't do better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was so anti-Judon. Could not rush the passer. at all. No pass rush moves. The only time he ever got sacks was when Wink decided to blitz and he would come unblocked, or maybe he was going against a backup tackle or something like that. He was good against the run. I'll give him that. He was very good at setting the edge. But Odafe supposedly is a monster at setting the edge and one of the best Wink Martindale's ever seen at setting the edge and stopping the run. So that could already be an instant improvement. And then obviously the speed off the edge is going to be crazy. I'm a big fan of that selection. The replacement that we were able to do with Matt Judon, especially with how much money he got, we're getting 1/10 of the cost of a Matt Judon for possibly even double the production. So very, very good.
And I do want to say something about Odafe Owe. A lot of people were saying about his 0 sacks. I mean, I was even sus of his 0 sacks when Joel and I talked about edge rushers. I thought that was a big red flag to me. But after really looking at the tape, they were literally running plays away from Owe. They would literally do it away from him, so that he couldn't and he would still get by his tackle or inside O lineman. He would get through them, make disruptions. There was even this play I saw. I forgot who it was against, but him and then the guy on the other side both set the edge really well, and people were all like, "Oh, he should be getting a sack here." It's no. He's setting the edge so that linebacker can come in through that gap and disrupt the running play or the passing play. They grabbed the attention to them, and then that linebacker did exactly what he was supposed to do, came in and stopped the play. I was Owe, especially with the people, with Wink being able to and all of our other coaches being able to coach him up, I think it's going to be great. Now, we've got to temper our expectations of rookies a little bit. I'm not saying that he's going to come in and have 20 sacks. But I'm saying he's going to be productive.
And he's the traditional guy that raises a play of your whole front seven.
Yeah.
I mean, Campbell's sacks will go up by a couple sacks, and all those guys on the front, they're all going to get more sacks just because of adding him to the group.
And Dalen Hayes. I really like Hayes as well. I think maybe not next year, but he's going to produce, I think. Now, he was a later round pick, so it's not guaranteed, but we have been pretty good at getting those later round picks, so.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and then did you have something else you wanted?
Yeah, and you guys managed to re-sign Derek Wolfe for an affordable price, bring back Pernell McPhee and Bowser. You really only lost Judon, and like I said before, you replaced him perfectly. So I don't see anywhere the Ravens got worse.
No, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only position where you could possibly look at getting worse, I think in the immediate run, the edge rush will be worse just because we had Yannick. Now, I never thought that we would re-sign Yannick, but we did have him for the last half of the season. His cost was not that much just because we sent a third and a fifth, if I'm remembering correctly. However, we knew we would be getting a third round comp pick from losing Matthew Judon. So in reality, I was we'll trade a 5th round pick for a rental on Yannick Ngakoue to maybe make a push. Didn't work at all. But, in terms of the overall production, the production could even be better. It just won't have the individual skill that we had on the edge. But like I said earlier, it's not like Judon was, a
sack machine
oozing out. He wasn't oozing skill. It was he had a small tank left over from dominating in smaller colleges. But, it's,
I don't disagree with you, my guy. I really don't.
But you guys made some other great picks. The Ben Cleveland pick on the offensive line to shore up. Killed that one. Big fan of Ben Cleveland.
He's a great guy. He's a great guy to look at. I still am curious to see how he plays at the left guard position, just because offensive linemen, it's still a bit of a risk. Obviously, I still really like the pick, but whether or not he's going to be able to start right away, I think it's still a question. I'm not a massive fan of Ben Powers or Ben Bredeson, but hopefully Ben Cleveland's going to be able to come in and he's I call him Big Sexy, but
I saw your video talking about that. That was great, dude.
Yes, gotta call him Big Sexy. But he is just a massive dude with a lot of strength, and hopefully next to a guy like Ronnie Stanley, they can really make some. And Bradley Bozeman. I mean, hopefully when he gets to be able to play, he'll be able to keep that that truz going and getting those big holes for Mark Ingram's no longer here, but J.K. Dobbins
and Gus
the Bus
the Bus. Yep. And then that's another thing that the Texans took.
I don't think took. They got leftovers.
Huh?
It was more like a leftover that we kind of scraped to the side of the table. I don't think they walked up to our plate and took it off the main course.
Oh, no. I wasn't. Oh, sorry. I mean, for them, they think they took.
Leftovers is generous. It's scraps. It's scraps that you're looking at.
I mean, I think he's going to be good in Houston, but at the same time, that's just because there's nothing else in Houston.
Yeah, he's.
But you guys also managed to steal Shaun Wade.
Oh yeah, Shaun Wade late. Oh my God. And then I actually do like the Brandon Stevens pick. I mean, I think it was a little early, but I do think he has some very much safety upsides to be a safety, and I think that's where we have him right now. I mean, looking at the depth chart, they have here. Let me see. What's our dude there? No, they don't even have.
I mean, right now
Brandon Stevens,
the
they have
free
him as
safeties
corner here. Huh?
Are right now our free safeties are Geno Stone, and I think technically they put Deshaun Elliott as a free safety, but he's not really a free safety. But yeah, I think they don't update the depth chart of positions until a week before the first preseason game.
No, 100%. But I just remember I thought I saw a depth chart where Stevens was in that free safety spot, and that undrafted free agent Ardarius Washington, I thought he was going to be picked. I didn't think he was going to go undrafted. So I think that was also a really good pickup for our secondary.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I watched it when I was watching him. I thought Tyrann Mathieu. If we got Tyrann Mathieu on our team, that'd be absolutely insane. So, I mean, anytime you sign an undrafted free agent, there's no downside to it, but he has a lot of upside. He could become a really, really good football player for the Ravens if he makes the team. But it'll still be a tough road to get on the roster.
Oh, 100%. It's not a guarantee, but I just think he has a lot of upsides, like you said.
Yeah. And then the fun pick, Ben Mason.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like it enough. Me personally, I do think we're going to be using Mason a little bit differently than what we use Ricard. Even though they are almost exactly the same dude. But I do think we're going to use them differently, which is why I'm okay with the pick. I would have rather an O-line, but what do you think about it, man?
I mean, initially I was pretty sus. However, Patrick Ricard, how long is he going to stay in Baltimore? I don't think he will be in Baltimore for much longer because, unfortunately, he's replaceable. He's not some, if he was a Kyle Juszczyk where it's this guy's got great hands at that size, he can really move, but instead he's just a big dude that kind of runs and bumps into people. Doesn't really have a lot of fullback experience. He's good at it. I mean, he's probably in the top 5 in terms of running and bumping into people's skill in the league. But, we draft Ben Mason, and he's somebody who's actually in college was known for being able to catch the football and make some plays after the catch. Not saying he's going to, I hate to say oh, wow, he's a tight end that hurdles because, we drafted some dude out of Missouri. It was Missouri, Montana, Minnesota. Minnesota was where we got him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was I know it starts with an M. Mr. Hurdle. Yeah, Mr. Hurdler. But, he didn't do anything for us. You can't just rely on, being able to hurdle, but he's just a physical guy. And I think just learning I think he'll probably play tight end for us for kind of a hybrid tight end special teamer. And then just learn under Pat Ricard and then just take that over when he leaves. So, I mean, we kind of did the same thing with Juszczyk. We don't really want to pay a fullback that much money. And fullback is probably the most replaceable position in the NFL because only about 2 teams, maybe 3 teams utilize one. So the free agent market and the draft market, there's not a lot of people looking. So you can always get one in free agency or just find a D tackle and transition them over. So I think it's a future pick, and I'm pretty happy with it now. But initially, it was a major sus moment for me.
Yeah, like I get it was kind of like the Brandon Stevens things where it's like I've never heard of this dude. What the heck? Or with Ben Mason, it was like we already have this dude. What the heck? But
yeah.
Was there any other points you wanted to make?
For me, I think I think maybe the most overlooked thing of the offseason is the first move of the offseason by any team, which was getting Kevin Zeitler and securing him at whatever it was, 4 a.m. On the first day of offseason, or 4 a.m. for me because I live on the West Coast. Maybe it's like 7 a.m. for Eric DeCosta. But like him being able to come to Baltimore, it drove up. I believe it drove up the price of Joe Thuney, who went to the Chiefs. But he's just going to be able to come in, and I think like it's like the forgotten move.
Yeah, no, it is.
That's going to help our offensive line significantly, and nobody has ever talked about like. I guess we talked about it for like the first week, and then everybody just completely forgot that we upgraded our O-line there. So when we lost Orlando Brown, everybody was like, oh, our O-line is so much worse. I'm like, but we like upgraded significantly at the spot next to where he would have been. And then we got like an almost just as good replacement in Villanueva. So like that right side of the line will be better than what it was 2 years ago. So, overall, it's something that I think people are completely overlooking, in my opinion.
No, and that's actually a very good point. And me personally, the Orlando Brown trade, I was super happy with. I mean, he was going to leave after next year no matter what. So might as well get value for him now. I mean, you can ask Joel, literally the day that trade happened, I was making a mock draft where I was actually having the Ravens trade with, I think it was the Washington football, no.
Or was it the Bears? I think it was the Bears.
No, it was the Vikings.
Oh.
Yeah, I had a mock draft trade where it was going to be swapping first and grabbing the Vikings second for Orlando Brown. So we were going to have the early first and then 2 seconds.
And this was far better value, being able to get a first.
Oh yeah, no. Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it sucks that he had to go to the Chiefs, but at the same time, we got major value for him, so I'm totally cool with it. And the Chiefs or another, contending team was going to be the only team that would offer that much. No other team.
Exactly. I think people overreact. I think it was John Harbaugh or Eric DeCosta that talked about it. It was like, we can only focus on ourselves and what is the best way to make our team better. You can't focus on, but this makes the Chiefs better. You can't control how good the Chiefs are going to be. Like, you can't do that. Instead, they could have just gone out and gotten the guy that ended up leaving the Bears, or they could have tried. Like, there were just so many guys. They could have drafted somebody. Like, they could have done anything, and they could have just gotten somebody that could have been just as good as Orlando Brown Jr., or maybe even better. But instead, the Ravens were like, let's take the best offer we got, and that's the way to make our team the best. And I think people overreact to that because it made the Ravens better. And that's all that the Ravens can focus on. Do the best you can and let every other team fall into place. Don't control what they're trying to do.
No, yeah, you can't play 5D chess with other teams. With just, I mean, especially in the NFL, like it's not like how I mean, I guess you could kind of do it in the NBA because there's less players on the roster, so you can kind of but at the same time, like I still fully stand behind that, where like you control your team, you do what makes your team better. Period. Like. It just made too much sense to do that trade.
And the Chiefs might only have him on a 1-year rental. So you might be playing 5D chess anyways.
I think people are just expecting the Chiefs will just sign him to a 5-year deal. And it's like, we don't know that. We do not know that. Like, if there was a deal, like when they made the trade, there was no deal in place for an extension. And so they're going to really have to find out, because I believe they're going to have to pay a couple of people next year. I don't know off the top of my head. But like Tyreek Hill is not under contract for a long period of time for the Chiefs. I don't know exactly how many years. I would assume probably 2 off the top of my head. But like he's going to need to get paid. There's no way that they're going to get rid of Tyreek Hill. So they can't just go out and just pay one guy, one offensive lineman, because Mahomes is on a 10-year deal for a whole lot of money. Which I'm still shocked that they signed him to a 10-year deal. I think it's always stupid to sign for a 10-year deal for any team, but
because you just
whatever.
Never know what can happen. I mean, not saying that Mahomes is going to start sucking, but like you never know when an injury happens. You never know when anything like life related happens. Like Andrew Luck randomly retiring. Like you just never know when something like that can happen.
Yeah, man, that's sad. Andrew Luck is one of my favorite players ever.
Oh, well.
It's such a sad day. I'm a huge Stanford fan, so So
yeah, as an ex-Texans fan,
rough.
I didn't like how people were overhyping him. I think people were doing a little too much. But not talking about Andrew Luck. Sorry, we always get off on tangents sometimes. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Joel?
I mean, no. I put them very solidly in Truz for the whole offseason. Not quite alpha. It's really, really freaking close. But not quite all the way there, just because there's still a couple of question marks.
I mean, yeah, there are some question marks.
But week 1, I may change my mind and put them in Alpha Truz. They could come out there and be amazing. So,
I mean, I personally, just because I have a really good feeling about these coaches, I have a really good feeling about everything that they did. I'm personally going to say Alpha Truz, and I'm going to say even one more and do a shout out to Lamar. Say, Big Truz.
Yeah, for me, I gotta say, Alpha Truz. Maybe say Truz the Bank. I don't know. Give it a woot woot. Just because I love this rookie class. I think that's the most important part of the offseason. You build your team through the draft, and I feel like this was a very, very good draft class. And then also the coaching changes that we made. Like so many people complained about Greg Roman, not being able to pass, but we had David Culley, who's horrible.
No,
bringing that in may completely fix the problem, completely. And we'll find out, through the first however many weeks of the season. But like, as of right now, it's looking like it was a really good move. And I think people are completely overlooking that, and everybody's just like, "Oh, we need to fire Greg Roman right away." And it's like, well, give him a chance, guys, because we brought in some people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And experience. So for me, definitely an Alpha Truz. The Ravens motto is "In EDC we trust." So, gotta ride with the motto.
Yeah, gotta ride with it. But yeah, did you have anything coming up on your channel you wanted to shout out?
I think the biggest thing would be on Saturday. I don't know the date. On Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, doing the first ever TTB live with the viewers. So if anybody wants to show up to that, y'all can be in the comments, ask any questions, Ravens related or other, and we'll get to it. We got plenty of people coming on. Lee, I believe you're coming on, correct?
Yes, I will be. Unfortunately, Joel is working, so he won't be able to join in. But I will be representing both of us. And I mean, mostly since we're talking about Ravens, I mean,
that's his area, so.
Should be a lot of fun. So make sure to come through to that. But that's all I got coming up.
All right, cool, man. Well, hey, it was great having you on. It was great talking Ravens football, and I hope we can do this some more later on down the line. And yeah, I'm super excited for this season. Like I told Alex, the guy who we were talking to before. I really feel like this season's going to be we're going to see who is real and who isn't. I think there's going to be a lot of proving this next season. I think a lot of teams have something to prove, and I'm super excited to watch all of the storylines.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, of course, man. You have a good one.
You too.
All right, guys. Back to just the two of us. Hope you all enjoyed today's stream, and hope you all enjoyed us chatting with Out of Our Own End Zone and with TTB Ravens, also known as Trust the Bank on YouTube. But yeah, so that is going to be everything for this episode. Look forward to next week when we talk about the NFC East.
Hyped for that one.
And yeah, we're super excited. We're super. Oh man, I can't get my words together. I'm so excited about having these collaborations with people already. It's a great time. It's so much fun to talk to other people about football, and just like we liked talking to the people we just talked to, we would love to talk to you guys as well. Please feel free to leave your comments or even just message us or add us on Twitter. We just love talking football. And then make sure you like and subscribe, all that good YouTube algorithm stuff. But yeah, until next week, we are Two Nerds Sportscast. I am Lee.
And I'm Joel, and we'll see you next week.
We are peacing out.